Hi guys, how are you? It is, what day is it? Thursday, January 11th, 2018, and you are here for the live skincare chat with me, Bryan Barron, the Director of Skincare Research at Paula's Choice Skincare. They're in Seattle. I'm broadcasting from my home office here in Michigan, where I currently live. Got my hot cup of coffee in the Rooster Cup. It's a coffee afternoon, not a tea afternoon. And I am ready to take your questions. This live chat kind of crept up on me. I knew it was coming, but I knew it was coming, but I didn't. And I know I mentioned last week that I was going to start each live chat with a theme or a topic. And last week, which was our first live chat of 2018, we were talking about I guess you'd say skincare resolutions and how I can help you have better skin as we go into this brand new year, which will hopefully be better than the previous year. Fingers crossed. I'm seeing some questions rolling in already. One of the things that I wanted to comment on before we get rolling with answering questions is yesterday, I believe, we posted on our Facebook page about what new products you guys might like to see from Paula's Choice. And that's a question that we ask at least once a year from our customers, from our social media fans, most of whom are also our customers. We want to make sure that we are giving you the best products for your skin type and for your needs. And one of the comments we typically get is that we always have a few people that say, oh, you have so many products now, and this seems, unnecessary, and that seems like you're just chasing a trend or what have you. And so I just wanted to explain a little bit about what goes through our heads on the development and formulary side when we are putting these things together and taking a critical look at the Paula's Choice collection. There are some things to keep in mind, particularly if you have been a long-time customer. And this is coming from someone, me, who is coming up on 18 years with Paula's Choice. So I've seen a lot of change. I have been through a lot of growth. Some of it has been exciting and exhilarating and wonderful to see, and some of it has been scary. Change can be scary, even when you know in your heart that it's a change for the better. So, yes, if you look at the Paula's Choice lineup, and even to some extent the Paula's Choice product prices back at the beginning of this century, so 2000, 2001, 2002, there have been quite a few changes since then, not the least of which is the multiplication of our line, the number of products that we offer. And there's a reason for that. And that is primarily because our customer base has grown exponentially. And don't get me wrong, I don't at all mean that as a burden or any sort of a complaint. It's wonderful that our customer base has grown. It's not only grown, though, within the US and Canada, because back when I started, the majority, maybe 98% of our customers hailed from the United States. In fact, really only a handful of states. We'd get odds and ends orders from random states, but like Texas, California, Florida, just to name 3 states, you guys really kept us afloat in the early years. And now we get orders not only from all over the United States, from all over Canada, but from all over the world, and we have distributorships all over the world. So we are truly dealing with a global audience now, which is incredibly heartening. It's incredibly humbling. And we take what we do in terms of product formulation, product marketing, very, very seriously. Product pricing is considered very, very carefully. So I just want you to know that we are a much different company today than we were at the beginning of the 2000s. And that is primarily because we are a much more global company with a much wider audience. We have a much broader range of skin concerns and personal preferences to address. I get it, though, that our line absolutely seems, and in some respects, is more complicated than it used to be 10, 12, 15 years ago. However, we have tried to keep pace in terms of our client service team and social media outlets and things like this, these live chats, to help you and make sure that you are getting the best products for your needs. And there will be choices, and I hope that you're not falling prey to what's known as indecision paralysis, where you just can't pick anything because everything sounds so great. Let us help you through that. That is what we are here for. It is our job to not only tell you about truth and beauty, but also to help you have the best skin of your life. And that drives everything that we do on a global scale. So, okay. Stepping off my little platform, my little soapbox, and let's get down to answering questions. Let's see. Balbuena Cruz family says, "Hi Bryan, I was wondering if you can talk about your favorite brands of sunscreen for newborns. I'm due next month, congratulations, and am looking for fragrance-free lotion, specifically sunblock." So I having a little dude now that is almost 3 years old. I haven't shown you guys a picture of my son in forever. I generally always put the mineral sunscreens on. Let me pull up this little picture, which would be titanium dioxide or zinc oxide. Okay. I don't know how well you can see that, but he is, he's my heart. I love him. He's adorable. I absolutely love being a dad. And one of the responsibilities of being a parent is making sure that you keep your child safe and protected while still letting them explore the world. So it's a balancing act. But when it comes to sun protection, I don't compromise in terms of, I always make sure that he has some level of SPF on when he goes outside, along with things like a hat and protective clothing. Particularly important when they are under a year old. Under 6 months old, most pediatricians will tell you not to have a child of that age, and especially in direct sun, which is why when I would go out walking with him when he was 4 or 5 months old, I would take that stroller bonnet type thing and like pull it. He was basically in a little cocoon, not getting a drop of sun. The sunscreen brand that I personally used on him when he was very small is the Baby Ganix line, their mineral sunscreen cream, which comes in a tube. As he's gotten older and as his skin has developed more, I switched to the Baby Ganix sunscreen spray lotion, which has SPF 50. It has zinc oxide as the primary active ingredient, which is one of the 2 mineral actives, along with some of the synthetic actives. Paula's Choice Skincare currently doesn't have a mineral sunscreen for the body, but I have used our Resist Super Light Daily Wrinkle Defense SPF 30 on his face when I haven't had the kids stuff handy. But I like the Baby Ganix line. I also like, actually I think I have one handy, excuse me. I'll be right, maybe not. So this one from Neutrogena, the Sheer Zinc Face, and they make kids versions as well on SPF 30, and that's the SPF 50 version that I have. And both versions they look nearly identical to me, and you can use those on kids as well. As always, though, just as a quick precaution, run any sunscreen options you are considering by your pediatrician to make sure that he or she approves. They may have some other brands that they've had luck with as well. Dashiell, my son, doesn't have particularly finicky skin, so I luckily didn't have to go through that experimentation phase of trying a bunch of different sunscreens on to find one that didn't cause a rash or redness or him to get itchy or anything like that. So we're rolling with the Baby Ganix, which I pick up at my local Target store. Amazon.com sells it. I'm sure places like Walgreens sell it. I don't think Costco does. Oh, people are saying hi. Hi, Brian. Hi, Brian. Hi, Brian. What are your thoughts on M-Veg Potato? It says, what are your thoughts on betaine salicylate as a BHA? I like it. It's interesting. We have looked at formulating with it in various capacities. We did not get quite the same results as we do with our salicylic acid formulas. So when we, behind the scenes, before products come to market, we're always testing, either in office or with an external panel test, or doing clinical tests with third parties, that type of thing, and putting the betaine salicylate products head-to-head with salicylic acid. The salicylic acid consistently edged it out. That is not to say that betaine salicylate isn't worth considering. It's an interesting ingredient. Technically, if I'm not mistaken, technically it is not a beta-hydroxy acid, but it works in a manner, it is a salicylate ingredient that works in a manner that's similar to salicylic acid. So we don't have anything coming up that is going to have that ingredient in it, but if you find it from another brand, one of the things to look for is, generally speaking, comparing strengths. Betaine salicylate, salicylic acid, you want to look for about double the amount of betaine salicylate. So the betaine salicylate equivalent to 2% salicylic acid would be 4% betaine salicylate. It's just a weaker ingredient in that sense, but it can be effective when carefully formulated. Angela says, hi Brian, will PC offer an azelaic acid product soon in the US? I'm using a product containing it from another brand. Wink, wink. I think I know what brand that is. Oh, now where's your question? But would love to see a PC version. Angela, we are looking at bringing our skin transforming multi-corrective, or correction, I always get that mixed up. I have to pull up the Europe website. Product to offer in the United States market. It is not official yet. Don't call customer service and get mad at them if you can't find it. And it might not happen, but we are looking at formulating with that ingredient, as well as some really interesting derivatives of that can have comparable results. So stay tuned. It is on our radar. Tara says, any new research PC is particularly excited for in 2018? Yes. Research, especially 9 out of 10 emails Paula and I swap, and she's in Hawaii right now, lucky. By the way, it isn't nearly as cold here. We're at about 50 degrees today. Almost all the snow is gone, but in the next day or two, it's going to drop down to 5. What a swing. And we'll be in the cold again. But it's January in the Midwest. What do you want? So, research. I would say there's 3 broad categories of research that I am finding particularly fascinating for this year. That doesn't mean that it's going to necessarily go anywhere outside of just being intriguing or fascinating, because in terms of parlaying this research into potential products, it's always more difficult than it might seem, especially if, well, let me put it this way. Paula's Choice Skincare isn't a brand that would ever use ingredients that have research behind them in amounts that would strictly be for window dressing or for the label claim. They have to be used in effective amounts. They have to be compatible with the other ingredients in the product. They have to be in usable, elegant textures, the right kind of packaging. So all of those factors have to come together in order to create the most effective product. So that by the time it gets into your hands, there's no doubt that it's going to work. It might not work the same for you as it does for someone else, because there's a whole other set of variables there. You know, your own skin type, your skin concerns, expectations, what else you're using, where do you live, genetics, on and on and on. But when it comes to market, it's going to have solid research behind it, and we're going to be confident in the formula. So having said that, I'm intrigued by the concept of some interesting plant extracts and other natural ingredients that can boost the effectiveness of a sunscreen. So what we're looking at, I think what the industry is looking at is incorporating more natural bioactive ingredients into sunscreen products as a means of reducing the amount of active ingredients you need to put into sunscreen to hit your target SPF. So it's possible that in the future, we'll be able to reach SPF 30 or SPF 50 with a lower level of active ingredients, let's say 40% less, that's just throwing that number out there, than what we're using today. Now, what's the benefit to that? The benefit is you're getting the extra anti-pollution defense and antioxidant defense that those plant extracts are going to bring to the formula. And there's almost always tangential benefits as well, like soothing benefits, or for some plant extracts, there may be a hydration or a brightening element attached to it. But by using less of the sunscreen actives, particularly the actives like Avobenzone, octisalate, octinoxate, and so on, we distinctively, significantly reduce the risk that the random person is going to have a sensitized reaction to the product, even when it's used around the eye. So that's really exciting. The other area that I think is just fascinating, and you could really go down a rabbit hole trying to understand and get involved in all of it, is the whole concept of prebiotics and probiotics for skin. There's more and more research coming to light that is shining light on what happens when you put certain strains of those ingredients on skin. We're learning more about what's called skin's microbiome and how fascinating that is and how it differs from person to person. Yet another reason why your experience or results from a product might differ from your sister or your mother or your best friend. That is an incredibly fascinating area of research that I think you'll be seeing more of within that, more products touting that within the cosmetics industry at large. The question is always going to be, how effective are those products really? And we'll try to get to the bottom of that. The third area that I am excited about is the ongoing evolution of peptides. The newer peptides coming to market and the peptides that may or may not come to market in terms of being available for cosmetic use, but are nevertheless being studied, and how the peptides can be bioengineered or lab engineered to really hone in on and target certain specific skin concerns, and often do so in a dramatic way and in a way that doesn't cause sensitization. It's incredible. 5-10 years ago, we weren't all that excited about peptides for skincare, for anti-aging, because we kept coming across limitations they were in products, yes, but peptides are highly unstable. And what we were finding, and a lot of research was revealing, was that yes, you could put a product with peptides on your skin, but if the peptide if it's not a certain type of peptide, if it's not enveloped in a certain way from a formulary perspective, it's not going to hit that area in your skin where you want it to basically release the payload, so to speak, and be able to work. So you'd be seeing products with peptides on the label, and people are like, oh, peptides, I've heard about those. Those are good for wrinkles or whatever. But they really weren't getting the actual benefit from the peptide because they weren't stable enough. Remember, it is absolutely not true that everything you put on your skin gets in your body. Your skin is actually very good at keeping things out. There's a whole area of cosmetic science that deals with how to get past the skin's natural barrier function. And one of the things on skin surface and in its uppermost layers that can be a peptide's undoing are enzymes. And these are little sentinel enzymes that are literally on guard for anything that it may not recognize, and so therefore it doesn't recognize it, it sees it as potential threat to your skin, and it'll neutralize it. So your skin, your skin's defense system is working as it should be. When the peptides are made to be, when they're lab engineered to be biocompatible, the enzymes say, hey, I know you. Oh yeah, come right in, have a seat. Would you like a cup of coffee? Instead of saying, halt, who goes there? Don't proceed any further. So you got me going. That is a long-winded answer, but I had 3 areas that I had to share with you, Tara, and the rest of the audience. So very, very exciting. I think it's going to be a really intriguing year, and what we learn this year is going to affect the kind of products that the industry does for the next 3 to 5 years. Simply putting, what do you think about Derm Doctor, Dr. Dre, or Brandon Truax saying BHAs and AHAs are not necessary even harmful? I've never heard Derm Doctor, Dr. Hydroquinone, say that, but I don't follow her closely, at least not recently. BHA washes are effective enough, according to one. You know, Brandon Truax, who is the founder of The Ordinary, of the Decium family of brands, he'll often say controversial things, just like we do, and he's entitled to his opinion about cosmetic ingredients. I'm not quite sure where he or the Dr. Dre, whom I'm not familiar with, or Dr. Cunin from Derma Doctor are getting their information in terms of AHAs and BHAs being harmful. They're not when they're carefully formulated and used as directed. That whole concept of things being harmful always, it's very important to take that in context. And I often use the consumption of alcohol or caffeine as to illustrate the point, because most of us consume one or the other or both on a regular basis. Let's say I could have a glass of wine, nice glass of red wine, a nice Merlot with dinner, and for the most part, I will get health benefits from that one glass of wine. If I were to have the entire bottle of wine, particularly in a short period of time, what was once harmless has turned to harmful. So you've heard the expression, the dose makes the poison. That is true for many things in life, including a lot of skincare ingredients, but I hesitate to use that expression because I don't want to imply that any such skincare ingredients are poisonous. They're not, but you get what I'm trying to say in terms of, yes, anything could be potentially harmful if you overdo it. You could die from drinking too much water. It has happened to people. There's a balance, too much water throws off the body's homeostasis. So it's not what they're saying about AHA and BHAs being harmful or being good enough in a rinse-off product is not reflected in the research that we have seen. There is research showing that BHA and rinse-off products can have some impact, but would I give up my leave-on BHA or AHA in exchange for only getting those ingredients from a cleanser? Nope. We're not going to do it, just like I wouldn't give up my nice glass of red wine with dinner. All right. Andrea says, just lost her question. I'm going to have to go for a lightning round here, you guys. Okay, we got Tara's question. We addressed simply pudding. Piranita says, hi, Brian. What are your views on stem cells, growth factors, and skincare? I don't think either of them work as claimed. And I think if they did work as claimed, there would be serious safety concerns that would keep those products from being classified as cosmetics. So long and the short of it, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of the claims behind those products because I don't think they're really all that legitimate. In order for a stem cell to work like a stem cell, it actually needs to be alive, and by the time it gets into a skincare product, it is long dead. Even if it was alive, what good is an apple or watermelon or grape stem cell going to do for your skin? Never seen any legitimate research showing that a fruit or a plant stem cell can have the same impact on a human stem cell than it can on stem cells related to that item. Grape stem cells for grapes, human stem cells for people. So yeah, I'm not a big fan. Where was... Okay, I sent Andrea. All right, Andrea, I see your question. I skipped ahead. Luis, I'll get to it. Luis says, hello, Brian, how are you? Should I consider a sunscreen product whose only protective ingredient against UVA rays is butylmethane. Okay, I think you're talking about butyl methoxy dibenzoyl methane, which is the long chemical name for avobenzone. If that is the only active ingredient in a sunscreen, no, don't consider it, because that particular sunscreen active only screens within the sun's UVA range, and you want a product that screens from UVA and UVB. However, if the avobenzone is joined by other active ingredients, which it should be, like oxybenzone, octisalate, octinoxate, methyl anthralenate, any of those. The majority of those offers, let me back up. All of those offer reliable UVB screening in that range of 290 to 320 nanometers. Some of them, like octinoxate, cover that UVB range and then into the UVA range, usually up to about 340, maybe 360 nanometers, with the UVA range going up to 400 nanometers. So if you're seeing avobenzone with those types of ingredients, that's fine, you're covered. You should verify on the product label that it says broad spectrum, because those are subject to more stringent testing in order to bear that label. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about it otherwise. Fear of a Name says, I participated in a research study for you guys yesterday. So happy to do it. I love you guys so much. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's great. I'm curious as to what you tried. Simply Pudding says, and I'm not sure if this is allowed to be answered, but why is the latest ceramide product so high-end in price? I can absolutely address that. And honestly, you guys, we aim to be as transparent as possible, you know, without giving away everything, which no business would be wise to do. But the Ceramide Enriched Firming Moisturizer is priced as it is because it is a very expensive formula, and it is one of our most sophisticated moisturizer formulas to date, specifically designed to address multiple signs of aging with a particular emphasis on visibly increasing skin's firmness, with its really cool combination of a high amount of vitamin C, retinol, and of course, the complex of ceramides. We are using ceramides in this formula in an amount that granted, I'm not privy to the quantitative formulas from other brands that use products, they use ceramides in their products, but I know what a lot of raw materials, cosmetic ingredients, cost. Ceramides, the type that we are using, the blend we're using, and the amount in which we are using them, it's not cheap. So the product is priced accordingly. But I get it is a higher price point than most of, I think all of our other facial moisturizers. But I would put this moisturizer, in terms of anti-aging results, I would put it up against anything else out there, including from the super high-end lines. If you haven't tried it yet, please do so if you're curious, and if it's within your budget. And if it isn't, we have other products in our Resist Skin Balancing, Skin Recovery lines that are also brilliant formulations. So as much as I would love for everyone to try this new moisturizer, if it isn't within your skincare budget, I don't want you to feel like you're missing out on something wonderful, because you can get pretty darn close to the results from this product from other products in our range, particularly if you wanted to weave in a booster or two, which I know ultimately ups the total price you pay, but then again, you're getting 3 products. I use that ceramide moisturizer a few times per week. I find it's actually a little bit too much for me activity-wise if I use it every single night, but I love what it does for my skin. You know, you could put on any type of hydrator and say, oh, my skin feels smoother or softer, but it really does have a noticeable impact on your skin's resilience and firmness and tone that, as a 44-year-old who's definitely concerned with signs of aging and wanting to put them off as long as possible, I think that's really amazing. Okay. And now, Andrea, She says, should we wear sunscreen even if we stay in and not go outside? You should, unless where you're going into is not a building or facility that has windows, which doesn't apply to most buildings. Maybe, like, let's say you work third shift and you work in a factory, and you know or you work in the lower level of a building that where you're just not either getting natural daylight or you're working at a time of day when the sun is down. Then you don't need to. But it's those incidental exposures over the course of several years that add up. It's that 5-minute walk to your car at the end of the day. It's that 20-minute break that you take outside to enjoy a warm sunny day and get some fresh air. It's that 1 minute you walk to your mailbox and walk back to the house without sunscreen. Every little exposure to that UV light adds up. So yes, unless the situation that you're in is what matches what I described, put some sunscreen on. Now, if your daylight exposure overall is minimal, meaning like just a few minutes here and there, I don't think you need to go for the super high SPF rating. I think you could probably get away with SPF 15 as long as you are applying it liberally. If you are not applying it liberally, meaning applying a layer, enough of a layer that you can really see it before it sinks in, then I would opt for SPF 30 just to make sure that you're getting over that hump. Okay, Tiffany, I used to self-tan but want to make more of an effort to use my skincare neck down. Do oils or any ingredients break down self-tan? I find my neck goes patchy when I use too many emollient products. Well, acids like alpha and beta hydroxy acids can definitely help a self-tan fade faster and in fact look a bit uneven because of the manner in which they work. The alpha and beta hydroxy acids act on the same dead skin cells that the self-tanning ingredient does, so they kind of fight each other. So I wouldn't do that combination. You could. My best advice if you want to use both on your body is to self-tan one night and then, sorry, the UPS guy is here and the dogs are telling me. Self-tan one night and then you apply your exfoliant on the other night. And it's a bit of a push-pull and you may need to apply some more self-tanner, but I've never seen anything saying that emollient products or oils can interrupt a self-tan. What might be happening, Tiffany, is that you aren't waiting long enough for your self-tanner to absorb. Check the label on the product or product you're using and see how long they state to wait before getting dressed or coming into contact with clothing or other objects. They'll usually tell you that. If not, try calling the company. But generally speaking, if you're using a self-tanning lotion, for example, I would wait about an hour, maybe even 2 hours before putting other skincare products on top of that. And I know that that doesn't sound like the most convenient thing to do, but I think that would solve your problem. Silent Screen Vamp says, "Hi Brian, you have helped me so much." Oh, good. "Thank you for all you do. Are you going to come out with another lip exfoliant? I missed the old one." You've been with us for a while. If you remember that one, we don't have a lip exfoliant in the works. However, assuming it is still made, let me just do a quick check here. There was a lip scrub from the brand Bite Beauty, which you can get on Sephora. Is it the Everyday Active? So there's the Agave lip mask, whipped cherry lip scrub, and the agave lip mask. Was that? That's available in different colors. I'm just looking at the ingredient list here. Not seeing anything that would exfoliate. They do have a scrub. Check that one out. One of the things that I do when my lips are getting dry and flaky is I take a cotton washcloth and wet it with some warm water, and then I lightly massage that over my lips before putting on the lip and body treatment balm. If your lips are more persistently flaky and the washcloth, the dampened washcloth, isn't enough, another option would be to use a baby toothbrush and wet it and lightly massage it in circular motions all around your lips. Pat them dry, put the lip balm on. That should help a lot. And don't be, especially at night, don't be afraid to really layer on that lip balm. Put it on thick. During the day, if you're doing lipstick or some other type of a lip paint or a lip sunscreen, you don't want to build that balm up too much because it's going to wreck everything. But at night, when that's the only thing on your lips, slather it on and you will wake up with soft, soft lips. Same person just said, I think that as long as there is a sliver of sun in the sky, Bryan will recommend sunscreen, even if you're indoors, unless you have blackout curtains, LOL. Or unless your windows are UV treated and you can verify that. That would be, some windows are, but given how insidious that UV damage can be, it's like, just put this sunscreen on and then you don't have to worry about is it or isn't it, or where you're going, or how long you're outside. Of course, if you're outside all day, you have to worry about putting the sunscreen on. Again, reapplying. Don't forget that. Okay. Warren says, is Derma rolling with 0.5 millimeters or 1.5 millimeters at home beneficial to skin? There is research on the derma rolling being beneficial for skin. We have an article on it that you can check out on our site. I'm always cautious about the ones that are advertised for use at home. And it's not because I don't believe that it's surgical stainless steel. This woman walks by my house like 18 times a day. I think all she does all day is walk, which good on her, but man, I wish I had that kind of time. The surgical stainless steel, I'm not disputing that, but I think with those devices at home, just knowing that when it comes to skincare and active ingredients, a lot of us tend to think if a little is good, then more must be better. And so we derma roll and derma roll and derma roll, and we poke tiny little holes in our skin with the needles, and then we layer on our active products. And, yes, because the dermal roller is supposed to make everything penetrate deeper. Two schools of thought on that. One, there's certain ingredients, including higher strength retinol and vitamin C, that you don't necessarily want to penetrate really deeply all at once. And then there's also the fact that there are certain ingredients that you want to stay in the uppermost layers and on skin surface, because if they don't, they're not there to help protect your skin from external aggressors, including visible effects of air pollution, just to name one. So I'm not a huge fan. I don't derma roll myself at home. I don't know anyone who does, and the couple of people I used to know who did it, and they were using the one from Rodin and Fields. And this is not a knock on their device, but they stopped doing it. They found it to be cumbersome. They found it to be a little painful, and they weren't necessarily, they didn't keep seeing the results that they did initially, and they just fell out of love with it, which I think is true for a lot of people with that type of procedure. Okay. Diana 8 Matienzo? Maybe that's it. Totally get what you're saying, Bryan. Thank you for addressing this. Seeing all the negative comments on that post made me a little sad. Oh, Diana, you're referring to our Facebook post. Yeah, it's a little. It is a little sad because I know how different we are from most other cosmetic companies, and I know how involved Paula still is on a daily basis. This is still the formulating part, especially, is still very much her passion. It's I kind of like think I don't. There's a feeling that you get where it's almost like you're not allowed to grow or change out of fear of making people unhappy. And I understand why that could happen and why people would feel that way. But it's an unfortunate position to be in from the company side of it, knowing that if we do this, we're going to disappoint some people, but we may end up making exponentially more people happy, because we firmly believe that what we're doing is going to be even more effective and better for a broader range of people. But I get it. It's a push-pull. It really is. And all of those comments, I know a few people wrote, if anyone at the company actually reads this, we do. We really do read it, and we do talk about it. So just know that your voice is being heard, and your frustrations are being heard, and it's something that we discuss and struggle with and try to balance as much as we can, given the global audience that we have, and just the whole nature of the cosmetics industry being so incredibly competitive. It's tough. It's tough, but I am confident we continue to bring you some of, if not most of, the best products on the market to take the best care of your skin. I'd like to think I'm living proof of that, given I've been using the products for so long and have altered my routine quite a bit over the years as our product line has changed. But you guys can tell me. And you can tell me what you think of what our products are doing for your skin, because honestly, I care a lot more about that. I don't like talking about myself. Thank you for saying my son is super cute. And yes, he is big now. He is a little over 3 feet tall, and he's about 35 pounds. Angie says, you're great, Bryan. Your knowledge and dedication to skincare is amazing. By the way, just son is adorable. Oh, thank you, Angie. His hair is so cute. He's absolutely adorable. I actually have to style his hair. And my husband, Ben, he won't do it because he doesn't know what to do with curly hair. He's like, how do you know what to do with curly hair? You don't have curly hair. And I was like, yes, that is true. But my sister is naturally curly, and we have like the complete opposite hair. She's got the thick, curly, boundless hair, and I'm more normal to fine, thin hair that has like a very slight wave to it. Of course, she wants my hair and I want her hair, but I digress. The point is, when we were little, I watched my dad, who also had naturally curly hair. He doesn't have a whole lot of hair left. Deal with her curls and kind of know that you don't brush them. It's all about finger styling and treating the hair gently. And anyway, okay, we have about 15 minutes left, so I'm just going to keep rolling here with questions. Can I discuss sebaceous hyperplasia? I have them bad on my chin. I use Resist Daily BHA, Retinol Booster 3 times a week, and the Resist BHA 9. Thank you for sharing all your knowledge. I am not the... I can discuss sebaceous hyperplasia, yes. I have never dealt with them myself. Paula has, and she relies on the Resist BHA 9 to help keep the visible symptoms under control. But in almost all cases of sebaceous hyperplasia, you need to see a dermatologist and have them dealt with in office. It's just not something that skincare is really great at getting rid of. Skincare, particularly a leave-on exfoliant, plays a role in helping to control the visible symptoms of that, but the underlying cause of sebaceous hyperplasia is beyond the reach of skincare, and it is one of those frustrations. I'm glad that I haven't had to deal with them to date, but given that I have oily skin in my T-zone and the pores are larger through there, I still occasionally break out. I may have to deal with them at some point in the future. Believe it or not, one of the big hidden causes of that hyperplasia is sun damage. The sun actually damages the oil gland, which leading to the formation of those bumps later. Like other things have to be at play in order for that to show up, but sun damage is a hidden cause. Just like sun damage, sun exposure without protection is a hidden contributor to dark circles. Particularly if you never really had an issue with dark circles, in your teens, 20s, and 30s, and now you're in your 40s and you're seeing these shadowed areas, and you're like, huh. Chances are fairly good it's sun damage, particularly if you weren't good about sunglasses as well. Anthony, what can I tell you about hydroxypinacolone retinoate and ethyl ascorbic acid? Are they as effective as retinol and L-ascorbic acid? I don't know if I'd go so far as to say they are equivalent, all things being equal, and assuming the proper formulary steps were taken to keep the L-ascorbic acid and retinol stable. The big advantage that form of retinol has and that form of vitamin C has is that they're engineered to be more stable, which means that they can be combined with more types of ingredients and even to some extent used in different types of packaging than what you would want to put pure ascorbic acid or pure retinol in. So the research on those, particularly the ethyl ascorbic acid, which I think you'd see on a label as 3-O ethyl ascorbic acid. That could be a little off there, but I think that's pretty close. Most of the research on that ingredient comes from the ingredient supplier. And it's not that ingredient suppliers aren't doing good research, but you have to understand that there is a bit of inherent bias there. It's in their best interest to make sure that the research on their ingredient looks as good as possible. So they may not always tell you what the limitations are, and they may not always tell you, what was I going to say about that? The limitations. They may not always do a comparative study. So they'll and it's similar to the hydroxypinacolone retinoate, although there's more intriguing research on that one that doesn't seem to be tied to an ingredient supplier. But what you often don't see in those ingredient supplier studies, even when they're well designed, is that they're not comparative. So they'll come out with all these stats saying their form of retinol did A, B, and C for skin, and here's what the test subject looked like at baseline. Here's what their skin looked like 60 days later. Wow, what a difference. That's really cool. But they didn't follow the same parameter with an equivalent strength and an equivalent formula of a comparative ingredient like retinol. So what that missing link is so intriguing because that study may actually reveal that the retinol went even further. It might not, but wouldn't you like to know? So yeah, bottom line, both of those ingredients are worth considering. I don't know that I would steer you toward them if you have had sensitivities to retinol or to ascorbic acid in the past, because they're similar enough that if you can't tolerate the original form, so to speak, chances are good you won't be able to tolerate that either. But you'd have to experiment to see. So unless you know you have a known allergy, go for it. Tara says the makeup line from PC seems to be getting smaller and smaller these days. Is there a company planning on expanding anything soon? You'll see a little expansion here and there and some limited edition items coming up, but we have made the decision to pull back or scale back on color and focus on skincare because honestly, it's what we're best at. And it's very difficult. We're still primarily an e-commerce company. People find out about us online. They shop from us online. We are in brick and mortar stores, like we're in several Nordstrom stores across the United States. But by and large, we're still e-commerce, and it's just a hard way to sell color. It's a hard way to find, particularly for foundation, your best shade. So I think you will continue to see us moving away from color, and I think it's fair to say, of course, never say never, but I think it's fair to say at this point that we will never have the type of full-fledged makeup line that we used to. That's just the reality of it. We're more passionate about skincare. We know skincare formulas much better than makeup formulas. And there are a lot of really good color companies out there, many of which are at drugstores, and they're super affordable. So hop on over to Beautypedia when you get a chance, our sister site, and check out reviews from some of those brands like NYX and Milani, and ColourPop is another one, although I think ColourPop is primarily online, but Wet n Wild has improved by leaps and bounds. That's an oldie but a goodie. Lisa says, is it okay to use small amounts of tea tree oil? Sure. I wouldn't put it, if you're talking about pure tea tree oil, and you take the top off and you're like getting that medicinal hit, I wouldn't put that directly on my skin. I would mix it with something else because there are fragrance components in tea tree oil that can cause irritation. Some people have had good luck using tea tree oil to deal with certain skin conditions. Skin conditions that aren't necessarily the most fun to talk about. They're unsightly or can even just be stinky. But there isn't any solid research showing that tea tree oil is more effective or preferred to over-the-counter drug products to deal with those issues, or the more potent stuff that a doctor can prescribe. I think tea tree oil mixed in with like an all-purpose cleanser can make a nice disinfecting type cleanser for use around the house. So I would consider it for stuff like that, especially if you like the smell of it, and a lot of people do. It's got that herbaceous, minty-ish smell, because it'll linger when you use it to clean your house, and a lot of people think it's kind of a fresh scent, and all right, cool. Kristen says, which is better, chemical exfoliant or physical exfoliant? Chemical exfoliant, hands down. It's not, scrubs have their place. A physical exfoliant, there's an instant gratification factor to a scrub. You know, your skin is looking a little dry and flaky or feeling kind of dehydrated. You massage a slightly granular, moisturizing-ish scrub on and rinse off, and wow, you know, you've got some color back in your cheeks, and your skin feels so smooth, and hopefully it doesn't feel dry and tight, and then you proceed with the rest of your routine, and yay. Where a scrub falls short compared to a chemical exfoliant like glycolic acid or salicylic acid is that they can't really address breakouts or clogged pores. You can't scrub either concern away. You can't scrub blackheads away. You can't scrub sun damage away. AHA and BHA ingredients are naturally hydrating. Scrub ingredients are not. Some scrub ingredients like ground up fruit pits or nutshells, it's impossible to make those perfectly round or spherical, as they say. And what happens is that you use them even when they're in a moisturizing base, and they cause tiny micro tears in skin because they're uneven. They have sharp edges. Even if you can't, look down and see them to your skin, that's painful. And it can cause problems that you wouldn't have if you didn't use those types of scrubs. So there's just a lot more that AHA and BHA exfoliants can do that a scrub can't. But I think for that instant gratification factor, when you're using a gentle scrub, gently, meaning not applying a lot of pressure, rinsing thoroughly, avoiding scrubs that contain strong fragrances or fragrant oils that can promote irritation, I think they're fine. They can also be a great extra cleansing step, and indeed, a lot of scrubs have cleansing ingredients in them already. So, if you're using a scrub in the morning, say, and it has cleansing ingredients in it, you don't need to then wash your face as well. The scrub is essentially your 2-in-1. Danny says, hey Bryan, can you help me find a routine, please? I have eczema on forehead, oily nose, and a bit of clogged pores on apple of the cheek. What are your suggestions, please? Okay. It's going to be difficult to just rattle off a complete routine. I think you're going to need to talk to your doctor, your healthcare provider, about topical products that can help with eczema. As an over-the-counter place to start to control the symptoms of eczema, particularly if it's intermittent. you can use an over-the-counter cream with 1% hydrocortisone. If you're not sure which one to use, talk to your pharmacist. Believe me, you won't be the first person to come to them and say, I have eczema and I need some cortisone. What do you recommend? And they can also counsel you on how to use it, how often to use it. Cortisone isn't something that you want to use continuously for eczema, but for short-term use, particularly if you find that it works to get that scaling and flaking and roughness under control, great. For all over your face, I think a beta-hydroxy acid product like our 2% BHA liquid or lotion would be fantastic because that can work so beautifully on clogged pores, and it can also help relieve the scaling and the flaking that can be present from eczema. So it's kind of a dual benefit there. Make sure your cleanser is gentle, preferably a more emollient lotion-style cleanser, no bar soaps, no bar cleansers, sunscreen, of course. And then you might, if your forehead, just going back and reading your question, if you have combination skin, so you're oily through the T-zone, normal to dry through the cheeks, some people it's very rare, but it could be reversed where you have a drier T-zone and oilier cheeks. What I'm getting at is that you might need to use 2 different textures of moisturizers. Or maybe on your oily area, you use a super lightweight serum that has replenishing antioxidant and skin restoring ingredients. And then on your cheeks, wherever you're drier, you would use that same serum followed by a moisturizer for that skin type. And I'm thinking it would be a creamier moisturizer that you wouldn't want to put over your T-zone because you don't need that extra moisture there. Okay, I'm trying to let me pick a few questions because there's just about 5 minutes left from people whose questions I haven't answered yet. Maria says, hi Brian, what's your opinion on the research that says that some actives like Oxybenzone, which is a sunscreen, can release free radicals? That's true. Some of those sunscreen actives can do that. However, a lot of the studies look at the pure concentration of the active ingredient in a controlled environment versus what actually happens when that sunscreen ingredient is combined in a sunscreen that has antioxidants and that is then applied to human skin as opposed to isolated human or animal skin cells, which is not the same as intact skin. So it's interesting because the conclusion is often like, oh, this is bad, but it isn't an apples to apples comparison. So what I can say though is there are a handful of sunscreen actives, including the mineral actives, that can elicit some level of free radical damage by virtue of how they work. However, going without sunscreen causes a heck of a lot more of that type of damage and much deeper in skin than some free radical generation on skin surface that the antioxidants in your skin's uppermost layers, the antioxidants in your skincare products, including your sunscreen, can mitigate. So bottom line in that regard is that I would be more concerned with avoiding Oxybenzone if you are going to be scuba diving or swimming in bodies of water where the coral reefs or the other underground flora and fauna are going to be affected, because there's some pretty strong research showing that those types of sunscreen actives are having a harmful effect on that underwater ecosystem. I would be much more worried about that than putting a sunscreen with Oxybenzone on my face and that causing free radical damage. Minor concern that cosmetic chemists know they're aware of it and they can take steps to remedy it. I've heard Dr. Dre saying that too. Okay. I gotta look up this Dr. Dre. Of course, I see that and I think of the rapper, which makes me sound old. Dr. Dre, the Chronic. Like hydroquinone, I love HQ. This is from Mikey. I love HQ. It changes the texture and radiance of my skin. It has such a bad rep, though. You know, it has a bad rep on the internet. You know, if you look at various chat rooms and forums and whatnot, When hydroquinone it's a skin lightening agent, it's a depigmenting agent, it has over-the-counter drug status in the United States where it can be used in products up to concentrations of 2%. It has been around for a long time, 5-6 decades now, and there is a ton of safety research behind it. There's a ton of research pertaining to its effectiveness when used to, I mean, remember what I was saying earlier about the dose makes the poison and too much of anything can be a problem? Hydroquinone is another example of that. A lot of the information on hydroquinone stems from products that were originally sold in Africa, and they were adulterated products where you had levels of hydroquinone that were too high, beyond what has been permitted as safe for use in products, and then the hydroquinone was actually made more active by mixing it with a class of ingredients called glucosteroids and mercury compounds. So is it any wonder that women who were using these products were having the exact opposite action on their skin than what they were expecting? Their dark spots weren't going away, they were getting bigger, or they were seeing new ones, because that is a side effect of those types of ingredients when they're combined together in an adulterated product at high strength. So we love hydroquinone at Paula's Choice. We use it in a couple of our products. They're OTC products. They've gone through stringent testing, but we also know that there are other brightening ingredients and ingredients that can have an impact on discolorations and the appearance of an uneven skin tone, and we use those as well. So again, you can pick and choose what you feel more comfortable with. I will say, though, that the research on using hydroquinone and those other ingredients like niacinamide, vitamin C, various forms of that together, along with sun protection, can produce even better results. So if I was dealing with a stubborn discoloration, particularly from sun damage, I would pile on those types of products starting with hydroquinone. And I think you'd only need to use that combination for maybe 3-4 months, and then you could kind of pick from that group what your favorite was, and that would become your maintenance product along with being good about sunscreen. Okay, one more question, you guys. You guys are just full of questions today. Okay. Sane, I hope I'm getting that right, says, hello, I tried all the SPF lotions and the Resist SPF 50 for oily skin, but everything makes me break out. I didn't try the clear SPF yet because the ingredients are similar to Resist. They are similar to Resist. In fact, it's the same product in most respects. What can I do? Well, there isn't a slam dunk answer. I'm sorry that the options from Paula's Choice didn't work for you. All I can tell you is to keep experimenting until you find one that does. And obviously at this point, at least until we come out with something else for you to try, it's going to have to be something from another brand. I have found, and I know I've mentioned this before, the SkinCeuticals Physical Fusion UV Defense SPF 50 works well for me in terms of, I don't think that has ever caused a breakout for me. It isn't a sunscreen for everyone. No sunscreen is, but give that a try. It does have a tint. They make one called Sheer Physical Defense, pretty sure that's the name, that has the same SPF rating but no tint. I find that one goes on, because I've ordered it by mistake more than once, and then I'm like, well, I'm not going to send it back. I'm just going to use it. No. It makes this white guy look even whiter. Like, you know, did you not sleep well last night? What's wrong with you? Are you not feeling well type of white? So I like the tinted version. I need that, what that does for my skin, and just makes me look like one of the living. So yeah, keep experimenting. Oh, I know. But it's so important to find a sunscreen that you really, really will use and look forward to using. And again, I'm sorry that ours weren't that for you, but maybe they will be at some point. You know, we've always got new SPF products that we're looking at and in the works. because it all starts with sun protection. So, once again, this hour, a little bit more than an hour, went by way too fast. But thank you, as always, for all of your questions. I appreciate having this dialogue with you. Even though you can hear me and I can't hear you, I can read what you're writing. Come back to our YouTube page. You can post your question again if I didn't get to it in the comments section, and I will check back within the next few days and answer more questions. And I will see all of you. Hopefully you can join me again next week, and I'll have a firm topic then. But of course, even when I have a firm topic, you can still ask me whatever's on your mind, and I will do my best to get to as many questions as possible. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for supporting Paula's Choice and for what we do, and for spending time with me. Take care.